Revealed. My parents' shocking demand to sell my home, what my sister so unexpectedly did next. The phone call had come just as Sarah was tucking her daughter, Lily, into bed. A mundane conversation had quickly transformed into a thunderous demand. Sell the house. She pressed the receiver tighter to her ear, half expecting her mother to laugh, to say it was all a joke. But her mother's voice remained serious, steady. The homespun magic of the Victorian, with its delicate teacups and the echo of laughter from years past, weighed heavily on Sarah's heart. How could she let it go? It felt like surrendering to a tide of disappointment. The house wasn't just wood and paint. It was a repository of memories, her grandmother's laughter woven into the very fabric of each room. Sarah's pulse quickened as she paced the dimly lit hallway, wrestling with her fury and despair. Selling would mean losing not just an inheritance but the very essence of who she was, who her grandmother had raised her to be. Despite teaching her students about resilience, about finding light in dark places, this was an insurmountable obstacle. The scathing judgment of her parents hung over her like a storm cloud, each word a reminder of the responsibilities she had to uphold to keep the family intact. The thought of betrayal lodged deep in her throat, making it hard to breathe. Before she could collect herself, the doorbell rang, cutting through her turmoil. Her heart sank when she opened the door to find her estranged sister, Lisa. A whirlwind of chaos and corporate triumph. "I'm here for the family gathering," Lisa proclaimed, tossing her long golden hair over her shoulder like an afterthought. The sophisticated confidence radiating from her only amplified Sarah's feelings of inadequacy. The distance between them was palpable. It felt more like a chasm since Lisa had abandoned their hometown for the corporate ladder, a betrayal of another kind. Dinner was a veritable balancing act, every word laden with tension. Her parents' smiles were brittle as they shared polite platitudes, while Sarah's insides churned like a stormy sea. When Lisa said, "We should brainstorm some ideas, Sarah," there was something more here, a glint in her sister's eye. "Let us come up with a way for you to monetize this place," Lisa continued, her voice smooth and enticing. "You could turn it into a B&B. The area is growing and you wouldn't have to sell." Sarah's mind raced and she hesitated. Was this an olive branch or merely another way for Lisa to stake her claim on their family's legacy? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her gaze darted between her sister's eager expression and the dissatisfied look from her parents. A flood of resentment crashed through her. Could this venture be a means to hold on to the essence of her family's love? Or was it simply paving the way for yet another schism? In that suffocating moment of indecision, sudden darkness swept through the room as the lights flickered and went out. The anxious silence was punctuated only by the creaking of the floor, echoes of past voices intertwining with the present. Time stilled and the tension hung heavy, a tangible thing that threatened to unravel everything. What would this night reveal? Where would her choices take her in the shadowy depths of old wounds? When the lights flickered back on, Sarah found herself in a moment of gut-wrenching clarity. The shadows felt heavier now, laden with unresolved history. Her parents were still seated at the dining table, their expressions taut as they exchanged glances laced with disappointment. Lisa, on the other hand, seemed invigorated by the chaos, her eyes shining with a manic energy that both excited and terrified Sarah. "Let us talk about the B&B idea," Lisa urged, her voice slicing through the lingering darkness like a hot knife through butter. "There's potential here, Sarah. You could capitalize on the nostalgia, make it a refuge for others, just like it was for you." Nostalgia. The word swirled in her mind, contrasting sharply with the very notion of what her sister was suggesting. Could she really transform the house into something commercial? The thought felt almost sacrilegious, like she'd be commodifying her grandmother's love and memories, trapping them in the sterile confines of a business plan. Deep inside, Sarah grappled with her newfound reality. "I'm not sure I can do this," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Lisa leaned in, her demeanor changing from businesslike to concerned. You're more capable than you think, Sarah. Remember how you rallied the kids at school? You inspired them to believe in themselves. But this was different. Teaching was one thing. Turning her sanctuary into a venture was something else entirely. As her mind raced through all the responsibilities, the planning, marketing, and risk of failure, she felt a weight in the pit of her stomach. I have to consider what Mom and Dad think, she replied, casting her eyes away from Lisa's insistence. They wouldn't understand. They expected tradition, stability, and were not ready to embrace change. Turning their family home into a business felt like a betrayal of everything they cherished. Their opinions don't define your life, Lisa shot back, though Sarah could see the underlying desperation in her sister's attempt to rally her. This could be your chance to carve your own path. Besides, maybe this is what they really want, a legacy they can be part of without selling out. The stakes had become frighteningly elevated, her sister's proposal awakening a long-dormant ambition within her. Yet, self-doubt cloaked her like a heavy shroud. She envisioned herself behind a counter, managing guests' whims, hosting family gatherings with laughter that echoed through the rooms. The more she thought about the possibility, the more it danced on the edge of her consciousness like a half-formed dream. Moments stretched into infinity as Lisa went on, pitching her idea like an infomercial on speed. Each argument was met with an internal roadblock. Yes, the area was growing. But why would anyone want to stay in a home that was suffused with such personal loss? Imagine Lily spending time here, Lisa pressed, sensing Sarah wavering. You could create a retreat for families, a place where they feel at home. Her heart clenched at the thought. Lily, her most precious gift, could thrive in a community nurtured by Sarah's love. The potential bolted through her like lightning. If she chose this path, could she actually transform the old wounds into healing? Could she become a beacon for other families wrestling with their pasts? The thought presented itself, tantalizing and terrifying. Was this the vision her grandmother would wanted? Just then, in that hushed momentum, a plan began to solidify in Sarah's mind. She glanced at her sister. Maybe, she said slowly, her voice steadying, but I need time to think. Lisa didn't just nod. She leaned forward, excitement bubbling just beneath the surface. I'll help you, Lisa promised earnestly, the connection they both desperately sought flickering for a moment like the light in the room. Yet, as Sarah made her way to her bedroom later that night, she felt the gravity of that decision pressing down on her, a crossroads she hadn't anticipated. As she sat in the dark, staring out at the stars, an intriguing thought convoluted her mind over and over again. Could she really forge a path that respected her past while building a future? The answer lingered tantalizingly out of reach. But one thing was certain: whatever choice she made, it would be a defining moment, reshaping not just her family's legacy, but her own identity. Would she muster the courage to step into the unknown? As those questions echoed through her mind, she clutched Lily's soft blanket, fully aware that a reckoning awaited her. But before she could dive deeper, an unexpected text message lit up her screen, provoking a fresh wave of uncertainty. What awaited her next? The text illuminated the darkened room, pulling Sarah from her swirling thoughts. As she read the message, her heart raced a sudden gut punch of disbelief. It was from her parents, enigmatic in their wording, but the implication was clear. They were questioning her capacity to manage the family home without their guidance, and, as the shadows on the wall thickened, they suggested the unthinkable. Selling the house. Panic surged through her veins. How could they consider this? The home wasn't just a building. It was the epicenter of her childhood, each creak of the wooden floors echoing with laughter, mistakes, and love. And if she hesitated, was she not only giving in to doubts but also betraying all the sacrifices her grandmother had made to keep it safe? Taking a deep breath, she began to type a response but found her fingers hesitating above the keypad. Would she voice her burgeoning dreams for the B&B, the vision that Lisa had sparked within her? Or would she stand firm against their demands with the echo of family loyalty ringing loudly in her ears? Opting for honesty, she expressed her feelings. Mom, Dad, I need to talk about this in person, she typed, her heart pounding as she hit send. The response was immediate negative. The sheer stubbornness of their words felt like a slap, leaving her torn between familial loyalty and burgeoning independence. As hours turned into a restless night, Sarah wrestled with the challenge laid before her. She kept replaying Lisa's words about seizing her chance, Yet there was a nagging voice in the back of her mind marking her doubts in thick strokes of uncertainty. Would her parents' fear of change render her aspirations obsolete, or could she convince them of her vision? Cursing the tangled emotions that gripped her, Sarah spent the following day immersing herself in research, poring over resources on how to run a bed and breakfast. She discovered stories of others who had transformed their homes into sanctuaries, their experiences echoing the very doubts and triumphs she faced. With each success tale, inspiration ignited something deep inside her, a flicker of hope. Yet, with every empowering article came the chilling reality that she would have to confront her parents. How could she persuade them to reconsider their demands, to look beyond the immediate clutter of their fears? Questions loomed large about how to pitch this vision they may never understand. The stakes rose sharply. The greater her desire to honor her family ties, the more she felt the tightening grip of her ambition. Later that week, she gathered enough courage to invite her parents over for a dinner that felt far too loaded with unsaid words. The familiar scents of her grandmother's famous recipes filled the air, a deliberate choice meant to inspire nostalgia, to fire up their senses. Yet with every bite, she sensed an icy wall between her heartfelt preparations and their reception. "Sarah, this is lovely," her mother remarked curtly, a forced smile on her lips. "But we can't cling to the past forever." Those words struck like thunder. As her mother continued, discussing the practicality of the potential sale, Sarah's heart raced. It was time to expose her vision. "Mom, Dad," she interjected, her voice trembling yet steady, "I don't want to let go of this home. I want to build something here, a place that celebrates our memories, where others can feel the love that's always been here." The room fell silent as her parents stared at her, shock written across their faces. Bracing herself for their inevitable backlash, Sarah pressed on. "I know it sounds crazy, but this could be what we all need, a way to step into the future together without dismissing our past." Before they could respond, her phone buzzed with an incoming message, jarring her focus and raising the tension higher. The screen flashed with Lisa's name, and Sarah's heart sank at the thought of how her sister might feel given the ongoing family tension. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, realizing that this confrontation demanded her full attention. Yet the external world felt pressing and intruding. Could she truly navigate these tumultuous waters alone? Would she be strong enough to go through this pivotal decision without losing herself or her family? As she braced herself for the impending clash, her heart raced with uncertainty, not knowing whether she was stepping into a bright future or an unraveling disaster. The outcome hung precariously in the balance, each second count toward a life-altering revelation. What awaited her once she opened the message? The buzz of her phone shot through the heavy tension in the room, pulling Sarah momentarily from her spiraling thoughts. Lisa's name illuminated the screen, a beacon in the storm of her anxiety. Should she reply now, or focus on the critical moment unfolding before her? Ignoring it felt impossible. She could sense her sister's urgent need for connection even from afar. "Just a second," she instructed, realizing that she could buy time and gather her thoughts in the process. She reluctantly set her phone aside, forcing herself to lock eyes with her parents. "Mom, Dad," she steadied her voice, "I believe this house can be more than just memories anchored to the past. It can be a legacy, an opportunity for others to experience what we cherish. I want to open it as a bed and breakfast." The silence hung thick and suffocating. Her father, arms crossed and brow furrowed, looked at her the way one might regard an impossible math problem. "Sarah, you've never even run a lemonade stand," he finally said, his voice heavy with skepticism. "Do you honestly believe you can pull this off?" His words were like arrows, each one finding its mark. Still, deep within her swelled a defiance she had long buried beneath her family's expectations. Instead of retreating into uncertainty, she leaned into the challenge. "Dad, it's about more than just the logistics. I've researched this. I know what it takes to start small businesses. There are resources and communities of people willing to help. This house was built on dreams, on love. Why can't we honor that by sharing it?" Uncharacteristically, her mother remained silent, her expression inscrutable. This was new. Her mother's typical resolve was faltering. "Think of the possibilities," Sarah pressed on, "the meals we could serve, the stories we could share with guests from all walks of life. It could breathe new life into this home." Her father's frown deepened. And what do you intend to do when you realize it's a lot more complicated than you think? Desperation tinged her resolve. What if I fail? She countered. But what if I thrive? I can't allow our memories to wither away through neglect. This is not just a business to me. It's a way to preserve everything we hold dear. A flicker of frustration crossed her mother's face, as if reflecting inner turmoil. You've always loved this place, Sarah, she said carefully, but it's time to think practically. Our lives are moving on. You need a career, a real one. With each passing moment, the heavy weight of her parents' disapproval loomed larger. They were still fixed on conventional paths, dismissing her desire as a whimsical fantasy. A swell of anger rose within her. Hadn't she spent years suffocating under their expectations? She needed to assert herself not just for her dreams, but to carve out her own identity. If you can't support me, she said, passion igniting her voice, then I will do this without you. The table fell silent. Disbelief washed over their faces. Sarah could feel the ground shift beneath her as realization dawned. She wouldn't be swayed by fear or tradition. Then, like a dam breaking, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message notification. She stole a glance, her heart racing as she saw Lisa's words flash across the screen. Can we talk? It's important. With the family dynamic poised on a knife's edge, her decision became clearer. She had to confront her parents with her own vision. But could she also take the plunge toward the possibility Lisa hinted at? The internal conflict surged within Sarah. Could she be the architect of her own destiny, building not just a business but a narrative of growth against her family's skepticism? With a deep breath and her heart pounding, she prepared to respond. The moment to either assert her dreams or retreat into familial expectations loomed. The choice could redefine her future. Would she open up about her sister's unexpected news and risk further family discord, or keep it to herself for the moment? Each path diverged into uncharted territory, and Sarah knew that whatever she chose could either solidify her autonomy or further entangle her in familial ties. The moment hung heavy in the air, ripe with potential. What awaited her across the threshold of her choices? Her pulse raced as she contemplated her next move. The faint buzz of her phone became an urgent reminder of the bond with her sister, a tether to a different life, one that felt braver and less constrained than the one she lived. She wrestled with the implications of Lisa's message. Could confronting her parents directly about their doubts and then asking about Lisa's news push her into another spiral of family tension? Yet, if she paused for too long, she might lose her momentum, the small flame of determination that had flickered back into existence when she had proposed the bed and breakfast idea. It was now or never. Mom, Dad, she began, her voice measured despite the turmoil roiling inside her. I appreciate that you want what's practical for me. She held their gaze, eyes sharp with resolve. But what if your version of practicality is exactly what's holding me back? Her mother flinched at the defiance, but Sarah pressed on, sensing this was the critical edge she needed. I want to build something real, something that feels worthwhile to me. I need your support to take this leap, to show that I can manage the complicated parts. Sarah, her father interjected, this isn't just about you. It's a significant investment. What if it collapses and leaves us all with nothing? Sweat beaded on her brow. The enormity of her dream felt daunting under their expectations. Yet rebelling against them felt like liberation. She took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. What if it becomes a success? What if I learn to be competent in ways you didn't expect? The vulnerability in her voice was palpable, underscoring her yearning for both support and acknowledgement. Her mother shifted in her seat, her expression softening for a fraction of a second before steel returned to her resolve. You've got to consider the reality, Sarah. A bed and breakfast is time-consuming and demanding. You need something steady, stable. Before you tell me to put my dreams aside, look around. This is steady. Sarah waved her hand around the familiar but faltering home filled with echoes of laughter and joy now turned to whispers of loss. The emotional weight hung thick in the air. It was as if the past conspired against her ambition. The realization sank deeper. Her parents truly believed they were guarding her by clinging to the known paths, and she felt like a stranger in a house that should feel alive. She needed her parents' acceptance, yet she wanted to defy their protective instincts and build her path. Can't we both be right? She said, surprising herself with the softness in her tone. Can't I aim for my aspirations while also fulfilling my responsibilities? Her father, mouth tight, wrinkled his brow. And how will you balance that with weight? Sarah interrupted, pulling out her phone. I have to see what Lisa needs. This might change everything. She quickly typed out a response to her sister, heart pounding. The room was tense. She could sense her parents' unease as they witnessed her reach out, as though her actions were a further rejection of the life they wanted for her. If you're going to pursue this, you need to commit fully. No half measures. I'm ready to give it everything, she asserted. The words a promise to herself as much as to them. But I can't do it without you. I need you to trust me. The silence that followed felt all-encompassing, heavy with uncommunicated emotions, past decisions, and unfulfilled dreams. Just then her phone buzzed again, shattering the moment. Another message from Lisa. And with that, so much rested on the cusp of revelation. Was there more to Lisa's urgency than Sarah had anticipated? What truth could it carry that might further disrupt the already shaky ground she had chosen to stand on? She felt a shift forming, one that could elevate her ambitions or plunge her further into the unavoidable tension within the family. The stakes had never been clearer, and she couldn't help but wonder what awaited her in that message. Would she seize this moment of clarity to embrace her ambitions, or would she find herself retreating once more into doubt? The unfolding journey loomed ahead, and her heart quickened with both fear and expectation. Her heart thudded heavier with each passing second as she picked up her phone, a swirl of emotion creating a barrier to clarity. The tightness in her throat served as a reminder that the messages she opened could shift everything. She clicked it open, her fingers trembling slightly, and read, Sarah, I need to talk to you. Urgently. It's about Mom and Dad. Please, when can we meet? Each word felt like a heavy stone dropping into water, sending ripples of anxiety circling through her thoughts. What could possibly warrant such urgency? Did it involve her parents? Was Lisa somehow entangled in their hesitations and fears? Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Sarah tucked the phone away, but not before her parents' concerned expression sparked another wave of determination. Could whatever Lisa had to say be pivotal in her fight for independence? She couldn't simply leave that uncertainty lingering. Mom, Dad, she began again, her voice firmer, I think it's time I met with Lisa. There is something important going on, and I need to figure out the best way to move forward together. The hesitation was palpable. Her parents shifted uncomfortably, a silent tableau of worry and confusion. Her mother opened her mouth to speak, but Sarah sensed a shift taking place within herself. The urge to flee the scrutiny and the expectations dissipated. This was her negotiation, her life, the very foundation she was trying to build. Why do you look so worried? Sarah continued, summoning a calmness she didn't quite feel. If you have doubts about my capability and dreams, then you should trust that I will seek advice and direction from my sister. Sarah, we just don't want you to get hurt, her father muttered defensively, though she could detect a crack forming in his calm exterior. I'm grateful for your concern, but it's time for me to confront my own challenges. I need to know if this dream can sustain me, if it can be more than just a fantasy, she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. Not living in your shadows, it's time for my own light to shine. Her parents exchanged glances. It was like watching two ships navigate an impending storm, struggling against something they could not explain or control. They weren't prepared for her growing resolve. They expected compliance, a return to the safe confines they had crafted. Taking a step back in her mind, Sarah felt the weight of her choices, tangible and intangible. She had often chafed against the boundaries they had set for her. Wasn't it time to redefine those borders? This was a chance to challenge familial expectations and forge ahead into uncharted territory, not just in her professional aspirations, but in every corner of her identity. As she dashed off a quick reply to Lisa, sensing the urgency resonating in her sister's words, she felt a current pulling her forward. She had always joked that life was like a bed and breakfast, messy but full of potential. Now she needed to embody that spirit. Without missing a beat, she resumed her thoughts, envisioning her first steps towards that dream. What did she still need to learn? Who could possibly guide her on this path beyond her parents' limitations? She was determined to not just pursue the bed and breakfast, but rather understand the fundamentals of running a business, connecting with others, and nurturing a vision that felt wholly hers. Can we figure out a compromise here? She asked gently, trying to meet her parents where they were. If it means giving me a shot, can we talk about how to balance this with responsibilities? I want to ensure the family is not just okay, but thriving alongside me. As her parents contemplated this, the air hummed with unspoken thoughts, threaded with hope and skepticism. There was no guarantee, but those moments of deliberation felt meaningful. Little by little, she was gaining ground not simply in her ambitions but in her ability to express vulnerability without losing her footing. The phone buzzed again, capturing her attention a second time. Another text from Lisa. Can you come to my office? We need to discuss everything. It's about what lies ahead for all of us. What exactly could that mean? And how would the choices she made now ripple through the family, especially with the uncertainty still hanging thick? Stepping into the fray, Sarah recognized one undeniable truth. The past had to be confronted, and pathways forged anew. Gathering her resolve, she stopped short of her parents' plea. Maybe whatever Lisa had in store could pull the threads together, compelling her to push even further. Would she be ready for the discussions ahead? Would her family truly understand her resolve? The questions lingered, enticing her forward into the next stage of her journey. With each step toward Lisa's office, the weight of anticipation pressed heavily on Sarah's shoulders. The echoes of her past conversations with her sister resounded in her mind, layered with the unspoken worries of her family. What ramifications could this meeting hold? Entering the office, Sarah found Lisa immersed in paperwork, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling within her. The air held a fervor, a tension thick enough to suffocate. Lisa looked up, and the normalcy of their greeting fell away, overshadowed by the urgency pulsating between them. Thanks for coming, Lisa said, motioning her to sit. I know it's been a lot lately. Her voice wasn't light. It carried an edge that made Sarah's stomach tighten. What's going on? Sarah pushed, a blend of impatience and concern bubbling just beneath the surface. It's about Mom and Dad. Lisa hesitated, taking a deep breath. I've realized things aren't as straightforward as we thought. You need to know what's at stake here. The gravity of her sister's expression forced Sarah to lean closer, and for a moment, their shared childhood memories flickered in her mind, moments filled with laughter and warmth now heralding an emotional storm. Tell me everything. Their financial situation. Turns out that they've been struggling more than they've let on. Their home it's at risk. The words fell between them like stones, heavy and unyielding. They need to sell the house to stay afloat. The stark reality of it surged through Sarah, an emotional avalanche shoving aside her burgeoning independence. What do you mean? How could they not have told me? Anger flared, a protective instinct propelled by love and confusion. I think they were trying to shield us. Dad thinks you're not ready to take over not just the house but the family situation. Deep down he is scared, Sarah. Lisa's gaze held a plea intertwined with concern. But surely they could have spoken up? Her voice wavered, fraying at the edges as she fought back tears. I thought I was making progress in becoming independent, and now it feels like I'm stepping right back into a role I wanted to leave behind. We both want different lives, but we're all still connected to their struggles, Lisa said softly. More than ever, we need to consider how we step forward together. They might need you to take more responsibility as well. Those words sent shivers down Sarah's spine, recalibrating her desire for independence into a tangled web of obligation. Do you think I should come home? The question escaped her, more a reflection of spiraling uncertainty than a vow of commitment. Lisa leaned back, weighing her response thoughtfully. You can't let fear dictate your journey, but you also can't ignore the reality of familial ties. This isn't just about you. This decision impacts everyone. Feeling trapped between her aspirations and her family's needs, Sarah's mind raced. What if this was the moment to unearth hidden capabilities, to prove not only to her family but also to herself that she could balance both worlds? She wanted to forge her path while understanding that being part of a family didn't negate her individuality. But how can I do that? She asked, genuinely perplexed yet resolute. If they want me to stay tied to them, frustrated by their fears, how do I break away? Lisa reached out, her hand resting on Sarah's. By first reconciling those fears. You must step forward into this chaos together, confront it. You need to have that conversation with them. Only then can you build the life you want. Suddenly, Sarah felt emboldened by the weight of possibility. This was her pivotal moment, not just to defend her aspirations, but to reshape her understanding of family. She could navigate the tightrope between personal ambition and collective responsibility as she left the office. A flurry of emotions surged within her. Was it possible to redefine her relationship with her family, while still pursuing her dream? Each question stirred new resolve and uncertainty within her psyche as she navigated toward the next chapter of her life. Her phone buzzed again, drawing her attention back. A new message from her parents appeared, amplifying her anxiety and complicating an already sensitive situation. "Sarah, we need to talk about something important." She took a deep breath, realizing she was teetering on the edge of her own transformation, one that could shape her future and redefine who she was in the eyes of those she loved most. Would she have the courage to face her family's fears and carve a path toward her dreams? The answers hung heavy in the air, tantalizingly out of reach. As Sarah stared at her phone, the screen's brightness illuminated a cacophony of emotions within her. The text from her parents seemed to echo in her mind, sending waves of apprehension crashing over her. In that moment, she felt the fractures in her burgeoning independence deepen. Could she face them, or would she allow their fears and expectations to pull her back into the shadows of her past? The weight of her sister's words lingered like a thick fog. Reconcile those fears. How could she confront her parents when the very thought of it left her feeling vulnerable? Did she even know what to say? 100 possible conversations raced through her mind, but none felt adequate for the gravity of the situation. She stepped outside, instinctively seeking the solace of a nearby park, a green space where she used to escape with Lisa as a child. The familiar trees stood tall, as if daring her to gather the strength she needed. Taking a moment, she closed her eyes, inhaling the fresh air, grounding herself in the present. This was about more than her independence. It was about her identity within her family. As she walked through the park, Sarah began to identify her internal conflict more clearly. On one hand lay her desire for autonomy, unfettered freedom to pursue her career, which was finally taking off. On the other hand was an unshakable duty to her family, the same family that had shaped who she had become. Wasn't pursuing her dreams essential for proving her capability? Yet, at what cost to them? Wandering past a playground, she caught sight of children laughing and playing without a care in the world. It struck her their laughter represented the simplicity of choice, unmarred by worry. Did she want to return to that simplicity if it meant sacrificing her aspirations? Or could she find a way to integrate both aspects into her life? The answers lay deep within her, waiting to be uncovered. Finally, she settled on a bench, her thoughts racing as she reached for her phone. With a trembling finger, she opened a note-taking app and began typing. "What do I want?" The question glared back at her, stark on the screen. Clarity bubbled just beneath the surface, waiting for her to delve deeper. "I want to be successful in my career. I want to make a mark, to feel proud of what I've achieved. But I also want to be there for my family." Each word spilled onto the digital page, an act of reflection transforming into an act of commitment. By giving voice to her aspirations, she was allowing herself to envision a pathway forward. Determined now, she crafted a plan. First, she would speak to Lisa again, gathering more insights on their parents' concerns could only strengthen her resolve. Then, with clarity and courage, she would dialogue with her parents. She would listen carefully, tackling their fears head-on, while articulating her willingness to both support them and assert her independence. As she made her way home, Sarah felt an unfamiliar burgeoning confidence blossom within her. The realization that her identity was not solely defined by her family's struggles, but rather by her ability to navigate through them, invigorated her spirit. But just as momentum seemed to build, her phone buzzed again, this time with a call. Glancing down, she saw her mother's name. An electric shock of anticipation shot through her. This could be the pivotal moment she had been preparing for, an opening into a conversation that might redefine everything. Heart pounding, she answered, ready to confront the landscape of her family's needs and her own ambitions. Would this be the turning point she needed, or would it meet resistance she hadn't anticipated? "You'll never guess what your father just told me," her mother began, a thread of urgency lacing her voice. Sarah steeled herself. The journey was no longer just about her. It was about finding a shared path forward while holding on to her own dreams. "Sarah, your father just got a job offer in another state, one that would mean a major move for us. He's excited, but I'm not sure how you'll take it." The words hung in the air like a dense fog, shrouding the conversation in uncertainty. The impact of her mother's news hit hard. A job offer? Did this mean her parents would sell the family home? The very space that held their shared memories and burdens? Mom, what do you mean? A job offer where? The question slipped out sharper than she intended. It's in Colorado. We talked about it at dinner yesterday. Your dad wants to take it, and he thinks it could be a great opportunity for us all. Her mother explained, voice tinged with both excitement and concern. As Sarah absorbed the news, conflicting emotions churned within her. The mere idea of her family uprooting their lives sent tremors through her carefully constructed plans. While she yearned for her own independence, part of her was terrified at the thought of losing the anchor of her childhood home, a narrative that profoundly shaped her identity. Are you both seriously considering this? What about me? What about our family here? The edge in her voice surprised even her. Her mother sighed. We know it's a big change, honey, but your father believes this could be a fresh start for all of us. Maybe it's what we need. Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The thought of her parents moving no longer just signaled an adventure. It meant leaving behind everything she held dear. But Mom, what if I'm not ready? What if I can't navigate my job and family dynamics from a distance? Maybe this is where you have to show us both what you can handle. Her mother replied gently, a challenging undertone laced within her words. A profound realization dawned on Sarah. This was not simply about location, it was a crossroads of responsibility, ambition, and personal boundaries. Would she acquiesce to their decisions, allowing the fear of their absence to dictate her responses? Or could she take this moment to articulate her aspirations, the very ones she had penned earlier? Mom, I need to think about this. I want to support you both, but I can't help feeling like I'm losing my grip here. I need to establish my own life too, she said slowly, voice steadier now. We understand, Sarah. But perhaps this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your independence. We're not asking you to give up your dreams. We're saying we believe you can pursue them, even if we're not right down the street. The warmth in her mother's voice brought a sliver of comfort, but the underlying tension remained palpable. This newfound flexibility nudged at her earlier reflections. Was she truly prepared to juggle her own ambitions alongside her family's evolution? Let me talk to Dad. Maybe we can discuss this more as a family, Sarah proposed, feeling a flicker of agency within herself despite the gravity of the situation. They ended the call with an agreement to talk further, but as Sarah placed her phone down, an unsettling thought rooted itself in her mind. If her parents took this leap without her, would she be left feeling abandoned in her pursuit for independence? Or could this unexpected shift be the very catalyst needed to propel her forward? Determined to carve her own path, Sarah grabbed a notebook, starting to map out a strategy for confronting her parents again this time, one that combined her dreams with the reality of their choices. If she could harness the complexities of their situation into her conversation, perhaps she could unify her personal ambitions with the inevitable transition they were undergoing. Just as she began writing, a notification chimed, breaking her focus. A new message from Lisa lit up the screen, urging Sarah to meet. Was this an omen signaling a fresh perspective, or simply more confusion? With a growing sense of urgency, she felt the pull to delve deeper into her own identity before tackling the impending family upheaval. Could her sister provide the insight she desperately needed, or would it lead to more questions than answers? Sarah hesitated, but deep down, she knew it was time to confront the complexity of her life head-on. After all, wasn't the essence of independence rooted in navigating challenging conversations? Sarah stood at the threshold of her family's future, each moment crystallizing into purpose. With a firm resolve, she decided to embrace the whirlwind of change ahead of her. Her phone buzzed again, another text from Lisa urging her to meet. This time she felt ready not just to listen, but to engage with clarity and intention. She took a deep breath, her mind shifting towards possibility. As she walked into the coffee shop to meet Lisa, she felt a surge of confidence. They settled into a quiet corner, the ambience bustling yet peaceful. I need to understand your perspective on all of this, Sarah began, her voice steady. Mom and Dad are talking about moving, and it feels like everything is changing. Lisa nodded, a knowing glance passing between them. It's a lot. But think about it, moments like this demand we adapt. This could also provide us with the opportunity to forge something new. Reflecting on this, Sarah felt certainty rippling within. What if I position the B&B idea not just as my dream but as part of our legacy, our family narrative? If they're transitioning to a new life, why not create a place where they can still feel connected to our roots? Lisa's eyes sparked with interest. That is brilliant. You could incorporate the memories, keep the essence of our family alive within a space for others. In that conversation, Sarah felt the barriers shifting. It wasn't just about maintaining family ties. It was about creating new ones that honored the past while embracing the future. Together, they discussed potential partnerships and funding options. Ideas flowed seamlessly, a tapestry weaving new pathways. Her sister's support grounded her ambitions deeper within her familial roots. As their meeting concluded, she left with renewed vigor. This vision required commitment, but with calculated steps it started to feel real. When she arrived home, her parents were sitting together in the dim light, the remnants of dinner still on the table. The atmosphere felt tense, the weight of unspoken fears hung heavy. Taking a deep breath, Sarah summoned the courage that had been building since her discussions with Lisa. "Can we talk?" she asked, her tone firm yet inviting. They looked up, surprise etching their faces but also a glimmer of hope. Settling across from them, she expressed her thoughts. "Mom, Dad, I've been thinking about our home. I want to share it, transform it into a bed and breakfast that showcases the love and memories that surround us. This space can become a sanctuary for others, just as it was for us." Silence filled the room as her parents absorbed her words. "You'd be willing to take on the responsibilities?" her father queried, skepticism framed behind his voice. "I'm eager to dive into this. I've done extensive research and I've even spoken with Lisa about it. This house can thrive with a new purpose without losing its identity," Sarah explained. Clarity now resonated in her tone, and she felt the weight of their gazes soften, their initial apprehensions yielding to contemplation. Her mother's expression shifted, uncertainty mixed with a flicker of acceptance. "It's a big leap, Sarah, but perhaps this is worth considering. It could breathe life back into those mundanities we've been clinging to." As they discussed the logistics, Sarah felt the foundation of her family redefine. What once suffocated her became the springboard to growth. Their concerns and her aspirations began to align, forming a unique collective vision. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, momentum built. She crafted a business plan and began reaching out to local resources that would guide her through the process. Her parents, initially hesitant, became increasingly supportive, offering insights from their own experiences. The conversations that felt heavy before ignited a spark of collaboration, each family member contributing in ways they hadn't considered. Finally, the day arrived to officially bring her vision to life. With her parents by her side, they unveiled the name of the bed and breakfast, the Legacy House. Celebration ensued, filled with laughter and family, marking their commitment to honor the past while paving the way for the future. In witnessing the transformation both of the house and of herself, Sarah felt a profound sense of achievement. She had faced familial pressures, navigated her identity, and emerged a force for change within her family. As she stood in the foreground of her newly reimagined home, deep confidence bubbled within her. The journey had come full circle. She had proven not only to her family but also to herself that true independence was not about severing ties but rather about growing stronger through them. With a heart full of gratitude, she captured the moment, a triumph encapsulating her journey, now framed with clarity and accomplishment. This is the moment to embrace your own journey toward transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the message.